What is Korean natural farming?
Sure, I guess I'd break it up into kind of two components. So Korean natural farming is focused on creating all of your own inputs. So that's your minerals like calcium phosphate, calcium. They do a mineral a mineral supplement through seawater. The other aspect of it, there's many different inputs that you can make, but the biggest one, the most important one is IMO, or Indigenous Microorganisms. And what that is, you're basically collecting a really diverse collection from a more advanced ecosystem. So if you're familiar with the idea of ecological succession, where you've got that big graph where at the beginning it's just rocks and hardly any microbes or fungal growth, and as you go through the succession, you're getting to brassicas and berries and vines, and then softwood trees, hardwood trees, kind of to the end stage of ecosystems where it should be like a rainforest or a jungle or redwood forest. So you're trying to collect from as far advanced up the line as you can, because those microbes have just had hundreds of years or thousands of years to adapt, get stronger, and become the best biology that you can. So we're collecting that. We're bringing it back to our farms, and I should mention that this is indigenous. This is as close to our land base as we can possibly find.
Or if that's what it is, how you do it involves a lot of techniques.
Yeah.
I like to think of it like it's kind of beyond worm tea or compost tea. A lot of people are familiar with that. A lot of the processes are similar. This is a very DIY approach. From the basics, everything that you're using here, you're making. There's no real buying anything other than maybe some of the raw materials used to make the concentrates.
That's correct. Yeah, that's what's so amazing about Korean natural farming is you're making like the highest quality inputs possible for very cheaply. So it's a way of accessing organic farming. Really poor countries could utilize this to grow food. There's a lot of different ways that it could be used. The son of Korean natural farming, the guy who, Master Cho, is the guy who kind of coalesced all these different ideas from different Asian farming teachers, and then his son is Youngsang Cho, who created another version kind of Korean natural farming called Jadam, and his whole thing is it's ultra low cost organic farming. You're making all of your inputs. They even show how to make natural pesticides and things like that as well. So it's like this whole other side genre of organic farming that most of the market gardeners haven't heard of yet, but it's starting to catch on more and more. And I want to see how it can be integrated into market gardening, what works, what doesn't, what works good for the types of crops that we grow as well.
Yeah, because one thing to think about if somebody's watching this is a lot of the inputs in organic farming, they are, I'll say, biologically inert. If I add feather meal, there's obviously some bacteria on that, but it's not a living thing. And outside of, say, compost or actively living compost, or maybe mycorrhizal fungi, a lot of the stuff that comes into organic farming is stuff. It's not an organism. And this is bringing valuable nutrients along with that biology into the system. Exactly. So you kind of get the 1-2 punch of the organisms and the nutrients within the solution, the carrying solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of it. Is you need this biology to break down a lot of these nutrients and make them available for the plants. So you're giving it all that, plus the best possible nutrients you can. If you're doing the fermented plant juice, then you're giving them enzymes and hormones that are specific to the plant that you're using them on. And you're even, if you're doing it as well as you can, then you're even spraying these solutions out at the different times when your plants need them. So the vegetative growth stage, when they're developing their fruit, and then when they actually have fruit set. The plant's always going through these different stages of growth, and you can time the sprays in a way that helps facilitate the best health and growth possible.
Now, you mentioned a lot of these things are things you make yourself, and you have a lot of it going on here. So let's take a look at some of the different systems you have.
Sounds good. Here are some of your really basic inputs here, and then my IMO. These are the ones I'd recommend starting with if you're a beginner and you just want to learn. I'm still a beginner, and that's why these are the only ones that I have right now. So we'll just start over here on the left. This is called LAB. This is the finished product, and this is an older one. I need to actually make a new one which is why I've got this here. So the process of making this, basically what's happening is we're wild collecting lactobacillus, which is a family of billions of organisms that's in the air all the time. And we're collecting it in this. This is rice wash water. So when you wash white rice, it has that milky leftover water that has a bunch of carbohydrates in it, and that attracts the lactobacillus organisms. So after 2-3 days, it'll kind of have a sweet yogurty smell. Then what you're doing is you're mixing it 1 to 10 with milk, and the milk purifies the bacteria because the lactobacilli that we want is going to be purified by that. They feed off of the milk so that the ending result is the whey. So if you've ever heard of curds and whey, they separate the curds on top, can be turned into cheese or fed to your animals. The whey serum in between is the wild collected lactobacillus. Then you can store that. So then this is foliar sprayed. And so this can be used on the leaves of your plants to help prevent powdery mildew, to help strengthen things. If you have a nutrient lockout, it can help with that as well. Basically, it's like the police. They're the good guys. This is what Drake, the American teacher of Korean natural farming, who I just learned from, he calls them the police because they come in there, they take out the bad guys. They're also used for animal pens. So you can spray this in your chicken coop, your pig pen, anywhere that's got a lot of manure, and it will really eliminate the smells and then facilitate the breakdown of that manure and the bedding in there. So I use this one all the time. It's also a great probiotic supplement for your human gut as well.
It's in a lot of yogurts.
It is, yeah. It's like Lactobacillus acidophilus or whatever. That's like the yogurt one. So yeah, there's just a bunch of different strains of them. And this is one that we collected just from the air.
Using that, are you applying it straight? Are you diluting it?
Dilution is 1 to 1,000 for most of the formulas.
So you also have chickens, people can hear them in the background. Do you use that LAB over in the chicken pen?
I definitely do. So every time I'm spraying my teas out, I also will spray inside the coop all along the bedding, just to get more microbes out in there, and it doesn't really smell in my chicken coop. So it definitely works.
LAB, a great starting point for somebody looking to dabble into this, even if they just make it and pour it into their compost pile or something. I think it's pretty easy, pretty DIY.
It is, yeah, and it's fun too. You can, if you want to take it a step further, you can even make cheese. And Chris Trump, who's one of the other really great American teachers, he's on YouTube. He has a video on how to make lab and then how to make cheese from the lab as well. And they're about 10-minute videos. And if you mess up, it was a few dollars in milk and a little bit of your time. So it's definitely worth it.